And, you know, we have subscribers everywhere. And so it's very satisfying, and I'm sure it is for you and Dave, that we are being successful. Can we reach them, or enough of them fast enough?
You know, you brought up a good point about their foreign subscribers to the newsletter, the International Forecaster. And by the way, if you want to get a complimentary copy, the phone number is 877-479-8178, 877-479-8178. I'd like for you to tell us where you see a big interest in your newsletter in foreign countries. Where do you have sort of clusters of subscribers? If you tell us that after this 4-minute break, I'd sure appreciate it. We will be back with our guest, Bob Chapman. This is Joyce and Dave and the Power Hour.
Who needs sugar-coated excuses when you can get the cold, hard facts and proven investment leads you can't get anywhere else? For a free introductory copy to Robert Chapman's International Forecaster, subscribe now at theInternationalForecaster.com or call 877-479-8178. Experience the difference. When you subscribe, you can email Robert Chapman directly to obtain investment advice tailored just for you. Don't wait another minute. Subscribe today at theInternationalForecaster.com or call 877-479-8178. That's 877-479-8178.
Band-Aid on a broken leg. The bailout is nothing more. Everyone is a slave to debt. Their meetings held behind closed doors. They do it in a dance. We're taking off the gloves. Take them down tonight. Take them down tonight.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Monday edition of the Power Hour. Coming up on 25 minutes past the hour, this is Dave.
And Joyce, and I thank you for joining us in the Power Hour today and supporting the Power Hour. We are interested in your becoming aware of the reality of the world situation. And to do that, we bring you people like Bob Chapman, who writes a newsletter. Now, he doesn't sell anything. He writes a newsletter, and he is tremendous at responding to people who have questions, that have a question via email. He will respond to you as best he can. And the website is theinternationalforecaster.com, theinternationalforecaster.com. And, Bob, if you would please give your email address, we get inundated with the requests for this.
International_forecaster, Forecaster, at Yahoo, YAHOO.com. International_forecaster at Yahoo.com. And we answer everybody.
Wow, I don't know how you do it. Thank you very much for doing that.
I've already done 30 of them this morning.
Oh, dear. Let me ask you this question. You have probably seen a big influx of people who have a financial interest, or an interest in the financial demise of this country, if you want to call it that, or the temperature of what's happening. Where do you see an interest overseas, other than here in this country? Obviously, we're concerned about it, but who has an interest in the International Forecaster newsletter?
Well, first of all the people throughout the world who subscribe seem to think that their problems are worse than ours. And that's something that, with the exception perhaps of Switzerland, where we have a fair amount of subscribers, all the Swiss speak English, so it makes it easy. But from Eastern Europe, we have a handful. From Russia, we have a handful. In Europe itself, hundreds. In South and Central America and Mexico, a smattering throughout that area. Canada, needless to say, we have lots of them, particularly in Alberta, which tends to be a more conservative province. But we have subscribers from all over Canada. And then we have a few from New Zealand, but a lot in Australia. And so we're spread out pretty good. We have some in Japan, 3 to be exact, and one of them is a professor. And we have a handful from Taiwan and Hong Kong and Thailand, and I think generally that's about it.
Well, that's interesting because I'm curious who looks to the United States or looks to your information to say, I want to know what's going on, so I'm not going to get those glitzy newsletters off of Kitco. I want to find out from somebody who really knows what's happening, which is Bob Chapman.
Well, the Canadian Airwaves pick up these programs, and so it's easier for them to pick up the program, so you get more response from them, and their English speaking as a first language makes it easier also.
Sure. Well, let's talk about what other countries are seeing. Let's talk about Canada right now. The exchange rate, the problems that Canada is experiencing now, I think are nothing greater or lesser than the United States. But then how do I know? Where does Canada stand?
Well, first of all, they have been hurt badly in Ontario and Quebec. And the same as Western Europe has, and to the greatest degree the United States has, via free trade, globalization, offshoring, and outsourcing. And it's going to get worse. And so there's a lot of manufacturing jobs in Canada, and they're leaving. And they're going to China and India and places like that. Secondly, Canada has a better than average banking system. There's a couple of banks that could go under pretty easily, but generally speaking, there's only a handful of banks in the first place. As far as the currency is concerned, presently it's really undervalued. And I think the government in Canada has got something to do with that because over 80% of their exports, like Mexico, go to the United States. So they're hurting. They're trying to make sure that, among others who export to the United States, their prices on their goods are competitively priced.
Okay, we've got a 3-minute break. And again, we're going to go back to Bob Chapman. And if you want to get a complimentary copy of his newsletter, the phone number is 877-479-8178. That's 877-479-8178. Or go to theinternationalforecaster.com. Any comments, Bob, that you have in response to what Ted Anderson just said? Do you disagree with anything that he just said?
Not at all. And gold just crossed $9.13, and so it's up about $20 or so. And, after years and years and years of suppression by central banks, particularly the U.S. Treasury, they have lost control of the suppression process. And we're looking at 9.16 right now. It's just coming across. Silver's up 31 cents. And this is going to continue for a long time. And I've been telling the subscribers before that we would see moves first of $30 and $40 and $50 a day, which we're now seeing. And then a little later on, once we pass 1,000, you'll see moves of $100, $200, and $300 a day in both directions, mind you. So get ready for it. I've been there. This is my 49th year, and so I know it's going to happen.
Well, when you get a little bit more experience at this, we'll probably pay more attention to you.
Absolutely. But anyway, this is the chance of a lifetime to protect your assets by owning gold and silver.
And I'm thinking...
And it's still so cheap. Gold's going to go to at least $2,000 an ounce and probably $6,000.
Whoa, I hadn't heard that number. That's a big number with a bunch of zeros after it. But, the idea, though, that a lot of people bought gold. I remember, what was it, around 1999? It was around $300 an ounce, I believe, right at the turning of Y2K. And a lot of people got enough gold during that time that they can pretty much pay off their mortgage now in the amount of money that it has trebled since that time.
And then perhaps 5 to 10 years from now, them still sitting on their gold, they may be able to buy blocks of apartment buildings in New York City.
Ooh.
And incidentally, that happened. I knew a case of that. When I was a broker, I had a young lady who was a client, and her dad was a dentist. And in 1933, he had cash, and in Chicago, he bought all all sorts of large buildings, and they became filthy rich.
Well, that's how you can do well during a depression, ladies and gentlemen. Let me open up the phone lines, 800-259-9231. Any of you desperate people that need to talk to Bob Chapman on the air, 800-259-9231, desperate for the truth, desperate to know what to do. Give us a call at the Power Hour. Let me just ask you, any predictions you want to make? Are we going to be looking at, this banking system where we're going to take all the bad debts and put it in a really bad bank?